I swear, it's just a tradition at this point. I'm usually behind on Blu-ray editions, so I'm sorry for that. But we need to get on to that. So let's get started with December 2021 Blu-ray editions. So, starting us off is The Martian. I actually like this movie. I thought this was an enjoyable movie. This is one of Ridley Scott's better movies of recent years, because admit it, in the recent years, he's had a lot of flops, like, uh, Alien Covenant was not that good. Matchstick Men was pretty bad, even though a lot of people liked it. I thought it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But The Martian, I liked The Martian a lot. I thought it was a really enjoyable movie. Uh, yeah, great performances all around on this movie. Like, Matt Damon was good in this movie. Jeff Daniels was good in this movie. Jessica Chastain, Michael Pena, Kate Mara, Sebastian Stan, Benedict Wong, all great performances. Overall, I thought The Martian was a really great movie, and by the way, the cinematography in this movie, perfect. Really, really good looking movie, which is why I suggest this is one of the movies you definitely see on 4K, because it just looks really good. Yeah, I thought The Martian was really good. And also, one other thing, very start of the movie, I told myself they're gonna play Starman by David Bowie in this movie. Sure enough, they did. They used it wisely. Like, that's the thing. A lot of these space travel movies, at one point or another, if they're made in the 21st century, one point or another in the film, they will put David Bowie's Starman. It's as sure as gravity, yeah, that they will put Starman in that movie. And they definitely did. They used it wisely in The Martian rather than just like a throwaway song. But yeah, overall, Martian, really good movie. I really liked it. I really can't recommend it enough. I think it's a really good movie, and the more I think about it, I really like it. Next is my second favorite Brad Pitt World War II movie, Fury. My first being Inglourious Bastards. Perfect movie. I love that movie. But Fury. Let's talk about Fury. Overall, this movie also had great performances. Logan Lerman was good. Brad Pitt probably gave one of his best performances other than Seven and Inglourious Bastards, which once again I love. I swear I'm gonna mention that movie 1,000 times. But yeah, this was one of Brad Pitt's best performances. John Bernthal was also really good. Michael Pena was good. Yeah, this is another Michael Pena movie. But yeah, Fury was great. It's about like a group of soldiers driving a tank through Germany, and so they have to kind of encounter enemy fire a lot. Overall, this was a really good movie. The battle scenes where we see a lot of like tanks fighting tanks, that was really good. That looked really nice and was really well directed. And also the way all the characters interact with each other is really interesting because they're constantly at each other's throats, especially with the presence of Logan Lerman's character. And this is one of Logan Lerman's better movies. Like he's done some pretty bad performances, but this is a better one. But yeah, the way characters interact is very interesting because it's very claustrophobic in the tank, and so there's a lot of suspense going on. And then when they get out of that tank, the suspense is still kind of going. And so overall, I think Fury is a fantastic movie. I think this is one of the greatest World War II movies to come out in recent years, which is definitely no small feat because we've seen some great World War II movies come out recently. But yeah, so next up is Elf. I like Elf a lot, and part of the reason that I like Elf is because you put some of the most charismatic actors in one movie. You put Will Ferrell, one of the most charismatic actors currently living, and Zooey Deschanel, who in my opinion is one of the most charismatic actresses to ever work in Hollywood. Yeah, I'm a huge nerd for 500 Days of Summer, so yeah. But yeah, that's part of the reason Elf is so good, because those two are very charismatic and have great chemistry with each other. And so yeah, I went to see a play of Elf the musical, and so the main reason I didn't like it, other than that it wasn't funny, other than some parts, was that essentially without Will Ferrell or Zooey Deschanel, you replace them with people trying to recreate that charisma and failing miserably because they completely miss what we liked about Buddy and Jovi in Elf. That Will Ferrell and Zoe Deschanel cannot be replaced. But yeah, I really liked the movie Elf. I thought it was really great. It's one of the greatest Christmas movies. So yeah. Next up is another Christmas movie, Christmas Vacation. Great performance from Chevy Chase, and it's one of those movies that gets better as you get older because you start to understand some of the more hidden, dirtier jokes. But yeah, one other thing about Christmas Vacation, this should be a message to all employers of several workers. If it's Christmas time, do not give your employees a Christmas bonus. Just give them a membership to the Jelly of the Month Club. That's the gift that keeps on giving all year round. But yeah, this was a really great movie. It was really funny. I liked Cousin Eddie a lot. He was funny. He was a funny character. But yeah, Christmas Vacation was an enjoyable movie. Next is The Polar Express. The prime example that if you're going to use Tom Hanks, you use him to his fullest. He had like 6 different characters to voice, and he did all of it very well. I think Robert Zemeckis always makes good movies with Tom Hanks. Castaway, The Polar Express, and possibly the greatest movie of all time, Forrest Gump. But yeah, The Polar Express, really fun movie. I really like Tom Hanks doing the voice of the Polar Express's conductor. I thought that was really fun. He was a fun character. And overall, this was just very, very fun, very like childlike, wholesome Christmas movie. I really like The Polar Express. Up next is Zoolander. This is one of the best comedies ever. Yeah, I could quote this all day. One of my favorites is, "It's my man! My man!" That was, like, he coughs weird. I can't recreate it, but I can do the voice all right. It has on the back, this is the Steelbook, it has a little quote on the back. Let me read that in the Zoolander voice. "I'm pretty sure there's a lot more to life than being really, really ridiculously good looking." One of my favorite parts of this movie is when Will Ferrell's character, who's like the villain, Mugatu, reveals this plan he has for Derek Zoolander, of building a school for him, the Derek Zoolander Center for kids who can't read good and also want to learn other things. And it's like the little model of it, what it's supposed to look like. And Derek Zoolander takes the model, throws it. What is this? A center for ants? How can the children be expected to learn when they can't even fit inside the building? I really like this movie. It's one of the best comedies ever. Like, also, a little thing, this is something I've been wondering for a bit. Which do you like more, Zoolander or Anchorman? Because they're both great comedies. I think I might like Zoolander better, but I definitely like Anchorman a lot. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on Zoolander. I also like another one of Ben Stiller's comedies, Tropic Thunder. I think he directs really good comedies. So yeah. I thought Zoolander was good. It's by far one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I cannot talk about how much I love this movie because it's a great movie. So next up is Kung Fu Panda 1, 2, and 3. Thanks to my brother for getting me the DVD copy of this. I'm actually happy he got me this because I love Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda 1, great movie, very funny. Great voice acting too. And by the way, like, I think it's kind of underrated how incredible the cast to this movie is. Like, a lot of people are saying Don't Look Up has like the biggest star-studded cast because yeah, it has Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio and Meryl Streep and Cate Blanchett and Ron Perlman. But Kung Fu Panda has Jackie Chan, Angelina Jolie, Dustin Hoffman, and Jack Black, and Lucy Liu, and David Cross, Seth Rogen. It has a lot of really great voice acting. A very, very big cast for just an animated panda movie about martial arts. But I think Kung Fu Panda is a great movie, and then Kung Fu Panda 2, even better. I honestly think Kung Fu Panda 2 is the perfect movie. Like, in every way, there's nothing wrong with Kung Fu Panda. Kung Fu Panda 2, that is. I really liked it. It was a great movie. And then Kung Fu Panda 3, what it lacks in characters, character development, excitement, originality, wholesomeness, enjoyability, voice acting, talent, story, humor, it makes up for in the score. The score, I'll admit, Kung Fu Panda 3 was pretty lame, but the score for the movie is absolutely incredible. By far, one of my favorite scores since, like, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which, by the way, best score ever. I listen to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly score by Ennio Morricone almost daily, dude. It's an incredible score. But Kung Fu Panda 3, it's lame. I kind of wish they didn't make it and just made, a better movie. Or, took out a lot of really bad overacting and bad stuff like that. I think Kung Fu Panda 3, it could have been better. But yeah, I think Kung Fu Panda Trilogy overall, it was good. It was enjoyable. And also, one kind of fun thing, my brother started this thing, every time we watch Kung Fu Panda, because we had this thing, we watched it all throughout January, and we had Milkshake Monday. We watched it first Monday of January. Kung Fu Panda 1 had chocolate milkshakes. Next Monday, we watched Kung Fu Panda 2, had strawberry milkshakes. And the third one, we had vanilla milkshakes, by far the plainest ice cream flavor for the plainest movie. But yeah, just a little fun tradition. Next up is My Neighbor Totoro. This is one of the best anime movies ever, because it's directed by Hayao Miyazaki. He makes some great movies. He made My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, Kiki's Delivery Service, Ponyo, Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle. He makes great movies. And My Neighbor Totoro is by far one of my favorites. Like, the only one I like more is Spirited Away. I love Spirited Away. But yeah, My Neighbor Totoro, it's a very imaginative movie. The animation looks absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I cannot say enough about how much I love this movie, because I really do. I think My Neighbor Totoro is one of the best animated movies ever. Yeah. So next up is the Back to the Future trilogy. Back to the Future 1, absolute masterpiece. I love everything about it. It's the most iconic movie and one of the funniest. I could watch it 1,000 times and never get bored. Back to the Future 2 is probably the lesser of the three. It's not really my favorite. I still like it, but my only two gripes with it is I can go back and watch it, and living in 2022, I can think, yeah, they got a lot of stuff wrong. They got a lot wrong. Not Kung Fu Panda. Back to the Future 3, though, it gets a lot of hate, but I thought it was enjoyable. I liked it. Yeah, Back to the Future trilogy, it's really good. I really love the first Back to the Future. And then the other two, they're good. They're still good. Yeah, so next up is 4 of Nicolas Cage's movies. We got The Humanity Bureau, Trespass, Bad Lieutenant, and Stolen. This is about enough to review for a month. I will dedicate a full month to Nicolas Cage, I promise that. This was such a weird white elephant gift, and by far the greatest one ever, because this was done at like a little family gathering for Christmas. There were only 2 people at that entire family gathering who liked Nicolas Cage, me and my uncle. Yeah, I know Nicolas Cage gets a lot of hate, but I find some of his movies enjoyable. But yeah, I really doubt any of these movies are going to be anything to scream about, but am I going to enjoy them still? Absolutely. I am going to nerd out over all of these movies. I'm going to buy all the Nicolas Cage merch. I am going to write him fan mail. Yeah, Nicolas Cage. Yeah, I'm a kind of a fan of you. I liked you in 2 movies so far. But yeah, I'm excited to see this movie, or all of these movies. I'm gonna probably enjoy them. Oh boy. I still can't get over Nicolas Cage's career in general. There was this thing I saw on Twitter. I don't know why, but like anything involving Nicolas Cage already makes me laugh. But like he was talking about this movie he was shooting where he was like a cowboy, and the horse he was riding was named Rain Man, and it constantly was trying to kill him. I don't know why, but I just love that story. Yeah. I'll try and be more open-minded to Nicolas Cage. Because one other thing, Francis Ford Coppola is the biggest nepotist in Hollywood history. First of all, he gave his daughter a start at Hollywood, even though she sucks at acting. She's a good director, but she sucks at acting, dude. Basically, the actress who was supposed to play Mary Corleone quit, and then so Francis Ford Coppola was trying to find someone else. He just put his daughter in the movie, and she gave possibly one of the worst performances I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. He gave Jason Schwartzman a start. Technically, Wes Anderson gave Jason Schwartzman a start in Rushmore. I'll have to admit, that was actually good, because I liked Rushmore. Roman Coppola, I don't know much about Roman Coppola, but I know he's related to Francis Ford Coppola. And he gave Nicolas Cage a start, because Nicolas Cage is his nephew. But yeah. Overall, Francis Ford Coppola is a nepotist, but he gave us Jason Schwartzman and Nicolas Cage. So I'm grateful for Francis Ford Coppola. Thank you. Next up is War Games. Yeah, this is a pretty good Matthew Broderick movie. Maybe, like, my fourth favorite, because you got... It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I like a lot of his movies more. You got Ferris Bueller's Day Off, absolutely incredible. The greatest 80s movie ever. You got Lion King. Everyone loves The Lion King, man. You got The Cable Guy. Then you got War Games. But War Games overall, it's a really good movie. I really liked it. So next up is He's Just Not That Into You. I didn't see this yet, but my mama was getting rid of a bunch of her movies. Like, the next three are also movies my mom was getting rid of, and then I intercepted them. But He's Just Not That Into You. The main reason I got this is because I'm a fan of sappy rom-coms, and you can thank Woody Allen for that, by the way. Yeah. He's Just Not That Into You. I'm excited to see it because A, I like sappy rom-coms. That's like my guilty pleasure. And also, I think Scarlett Johansson, in my opinion, is one of the greatest rom-com leads ever. I'm not sure if she plays a lead role in this movie, but all I know is she's great in rom-coms. Like, in terms of rom-com leads, you got, like, at the top, Cary Grant. No question, Cary Grant. Jimmy Stewart, Tom Hanks, Scarlett Johansson, what's her name? Zooey Deschanel, Meryl Streep, Diane Keaton, Woody Allen. Those are, like, the best rom-com leads in my opinion. Maybe I'm missing some, but those are, like, the best that I've seen. I really like those guys. But yeah, He's Just Not That Into You. Maybe I'll see it someday. I probably won't enjoy it, but you never know. Next up, Scoop. Another Scarlett Johansson rom-com that my mom was getting rid of. I actually enjoyed Scoop. It's a Woody Allen movie. It's one of Woody Allen's better movies. I think he's definitely had some flops of recent years. Like, he had some really bad ones. Like, Crisis in 6 Scenes was pretty bad. He had one really cruddy movie called A Rainy Day in New York. But Scoop was actually enjoyable. I liked Scoop. It's about this reporter who suspects a billionaire of being a serial killer, and so she kind of, like, tries to seduce him to find out if he is or not. And then so Scarlett Johansson is that reporter, and the billionaire is played by Hugh Jackman, and then Scarlett Johansson is also getting help from Woody Allen in probably one of his better performances. And I just really liked Scoop. I thought it was an enjoyable movie. It was a funny rom-com. It was a fun movie. Yeah. One thing, though, is I think Woody Allen has definitely dealt with aging in an interesting way. He dealt with it like Clint Eastwood did, where, like, he kind of makes that part of his performance now. Like, Clint Eastwood does that a lot in, like, Trouble with the Curve, Gran Torino, those types of movies. He, like, makes the fact that he's old part of his character. Like, he grew up in a different time. He's not used to the way things are done now. And in Scoop, Woody Allen definitely makes his age part of the joke. And I like that self-awareness. I think Woody Allen has definitely made some good choices. Not good choices, but good directorial choices. Oh boy, that almost looked bad. But he's definitely made some good directorial choices in terms of making fun of his age. But yeah. Next is Vicky Cristina Barcelona. I wasn't a huge fan of this movie. This is another Scarlett Johansson sappy rom-com directed by Woody Allen that my mom was getting rid of. It's weird that it happened twice, right? But yeah, I kind of like this movie. Javier Bardem was good in it. Rebecca Hall was good. Scarlett Johansson was good. Overall, good performances. Penelope Cruz was also good. Mainly, I just don't enjoy the way this movie's story progresses. Because what happens is, usually in any movie, there's this revelation, there's this big moment where you reveal something, and then the entire course of the story is changed. That happens, but it doesn't change the course of the story in Vicky Cristina Barcelona. Like, you have, in terms of story progression, you have everything's normal and quiet, and maybe some people aren't happy with their lives completely. They go on vacation, and this could be the big changing point. They meet a mysterious man who's actually revealing things to themselves that they didn't know about themselves. Scarlett Johansson and Rebecca Hall's character have revelations on what love truly is. Nothing happens, and then they go straight back to the beginning. Nothing changes overall because of the movie. The movie changes no events in the characters' lives whatsoever. The movie ends as if those events in the middle never happened. And I get that's part of Woody Allen's idea that there's no such thing as morality, or that not everything's like how a movie goes. He had very similar ideas in a lot of his movies. Like Midnight in Paris, like Annie Hall, like Manhattan. But he doesn't really execute it in certain ways that have to happen like a movie. Like, otherwise, you have no purpose for making this movie. He essentially made a movie in which 80 minutes unfold before our eyes, and then nothing between the first 5 minutes and last 5 minutes are affected by those 80 minutes. It's just a progression that leads to absolutely nothing and feels like a waste of time overall. And so that's part of my problem with Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And finally is The Place Beyond the Pines. I thought this had some great performances from like Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, Dane DeHaan, who usually has a habit of ruining movies that he's in, was actually good in this movie. But overall, I was kind of disappointed in this movie. Don't get me wrong, I like the performances, and I think it was very surprising the way it turned out. But I just wasn't a huge fan of The Place Beyond the Pines. I don't know. I just thought it was really boring. It ran on for too long. Overall, I was not a huge fan of this movie. So we move on to Movie of the Month, where I picked the top 5 best movies out of these. So in 5th place is Zoolander, by far one of my favorite comedies. This is an incredibly funny movie. In 4th place, Kung Fu Panda 2. I really like Kung Fu Panda 2. I thought it was a really great movie. In 3rd place, Fury. This was an incredible movie with all-around great performances and really well-directed battle scenes. In 2nd place, we have The Martian. I really like this movie. I cannot recommend it enough. It is a fantastic movie. And at number 1, drum roll please, Back to the Future. This is an iconic movie. We all love it. I really like Back to the Future, and this was an obvious pick for number 1. Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies, definitely my favorite 80s movie, other than maybe Ferris Bueller, but Back to the Future, I absolutely love that movie. Well, that just about does it for December 2021 Blu-ray edition. Sorry this video was a bit late. I have some reviews planned in the future. I'll probably get those out next month. I promise that. Thank you very much. Before you leave, why don't you tell me what your favorite of all these movies were? You just saw mine, it was Back to the Future. After you do that, you can head on out. Stay safe and watch good movies. Bye!